Graham, for anyone who doesn't know, do you want to talk us through your background and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, so I'll briefly start about me because I'm probably the radio anorak out of the two of us. I first fell in love with radio at about 15 or 16 when I was listening to my bedside radio to Ray Foley and JP. I don't know if anybody remembers the show The Blast from 10 p.m. to 12, and I just became obsessed with that show. And I'll never forget, I was so angry with the management of Today FM when they moved them to lunchtimes, which meant I couldn't listen anymore because I was obviously in school. But what I did was I got one of those pen radios. So I'll be writing and taking my notes, but I have the earphone up my jumper. And I would like this listening to Ray and JP. And I was like, yes, so good. But I kind of stalked their careers and figured out that they went to study media in DIT. And after another conversation with Fergal Darcy as well, he also did the same. So I said, I got to get to this radio presenter factory in DIT. So in 2010, I studied media in DIT, and on the very first day, I met a man who had no interest in radio whatsoever.
A hunk of a man.
Called Niamh O'Reilly, who it's safe to say you never really listened to radio.
Not essentially true, Graham, because I used to listen to the Adrian Kennedy phone show. I often sometimes would actually record tapes of the show, and I would listen to it on family holidays as we traveled around the south of France, surrounded by vineyards. Now, I don't know if Dave Kelly is in the room, but I'm sure he would agree that is how the show was intended to be listened to, vineyards and wine.
So after about 2 or 3 years of trying to convince Nathan to do a radio show with me, we eventually started in DIT-FM. We then moved to Spin 1038's digital radio station, Freak. So we were on that for about a year. We then started to do Sunday nights of the prime time slot of 11 p.m. to 1 a.m.
Ooh.
That was a big slot for us. And after 9 months of doing that, we did the Zoo Crew on Spin from 7 to 9 for 2 years. And then we moved to Fully Charged, the breakfast show, for 5 years. And everything was going absolutely fine until the great betrayal of May 2022, when actually in this hotel, I'm not sure if we're allowed to say this, we signed a contract with FM104 to move to their drive time show, and that's where we are for the last 2.5 years, and we're lucky to have Niamh as our producer as well.
Go on, Niamh.
Lovely, thanks guys. Nathan, you both recently celebrated 10 years together. Do you want to talk us about your best on-air moment?
I wasn't expecting this question, I have to be honest with you. It's not like we've rehearsed this 27 times this week. I'm not going to get into it too much, but of course it has to be when we chatted to Matt Damon in the pandemic. I remember our PD, Phil Manzer, said, "Soak it in, boys. You're never going to experience anything like this ever again." And he was right.
Yeah,
to be honest with you, I was looking at retiring after that interview, but I realized I didn't have a pension. So that is why I'm reluctantly still working today. But it was a lot of fun. It was the journey of trying to find Matt. We never thought we'd have him on the show. And then to have that conversation really blow up in every publication and all the radio stations from around the world. But I think what's important with that was our intention was he was never going to be on the show. We just saw it as a lot of fun documenting the journey and chatting to loads of people.
And Graham, it's funny that Nathan has used a celebrity interview as his best on-air moment, because when I joined, you specifically said that you didn't really find celebrity interviews that interesting. You prefer a bit of a quirky story arc instead.
Yeah, so I think we're at our strongest when we are doing these silly story arcs where the content is being driven forward by the listener, because I think we figured out a long time ago, we can do an idea, and yes, it can be funny and we can find it funny, but we find it so much more entertaining for us and also more engagement for the listener.
It's more of a buy-in.
Yeah, buy-in, exactly. If they are actually involved in every part of the process. So we can have an idea and we want to go from A to B. We won't go in a straight line though. We'll kind of go in a zigzag to get to B, but those zigzags will be made by the listener. And I think a prime example of this is in November. We had a caller on the line, and By rights, this caller should have never made it to air because the phone line was so
It's probably
bad.
my fault.
You're like, it sounds great.
And it was a nothing call at the end of the show, and we had a girl on, and we were saying, Nathan, you asked her, what are you doing tonight? And goes, I'm getting a Chinese. And Nathan goes, what's the name of your Chinese? And she said it was the new Dragon Boat. But the line was so bad, it was like... And Nathan goes, McGagan balls? And we thought this was the funniest thing ever. So the next day, we played it out again at a different time, and we got a massive reaction from the listeners. We did it again the following day at a different time. We got another massive reaction from the listeners, and we figured out, okay, there's definitely something in this. So we said, how funny would it be for one show that we would take over somebody's Chinese restaurant and rename it McGagan Balls for 4 hours. And that was the idea, and then, so that was A and B.
And also have a meal named after McGagan Balls. And listeners were deciding what should the McGagan Balls meal be. So once again, real buy-in.
Yeah, so we wanted the listener to be involved in every single development of the story, like which Chinese should we go to? What should be on the menu? Let's really drill down what is going to be in this spice bag, etc., etc. And I think we have a piece of audio now. So this is the 2-minute package we played at the start of the show when we were in a Chinese in Ballyfermot. Because it was so mental at the time, we kind of had to give some context as to how we got to this position. I think we have it now.
It all started with a simple mistake.
Do you want to give your local Chinese a shout out?
It's the Dragon Boat in Suffolk.
McGagan Balls?
But that mistake soon turned into a dream.
Do you want a local...
McGagan Balls?
Do you? Would you like to ask your family, hey, kids, do you want anything from...
McGagan Balls?
That is what we want.
So the search began for the perfect Chinese restaurant. Many came forward, but one stood head and shoulders above the rest. New Lamb's Ballyfermot.
Well, I have invited you out because the people have spoken and the people want to use their show to be broadcasted in the #1 Chinese in the land, so that's pretty much it.
And for one day only.
I'm going to introduce the McGagan Ball Spice Bag.
But then came the next question. What goes in a McGagan Ball spice bag?
Do like little mini ribs or something? That would be cute. You definitely have to put the chopped up sausage in it.
Also, I'm not really in agreement with the old putting the sausage into the spice bag. I don't think it really goes.
I think chicken balls, maybe a mini spring roll.
But the decision was made, and for a very reasonable price.
We are going to do salt and chili chips. Yep. With 3 salt and chili chicken balls. 3. And a salt and chili spring roll. Okay. And a small curry sauce. Small. All for only €8. €8?
So, for one day only, McGagan Ball's Chinese restaurant comes to Ballyfermot with a spice bag's name you'll never forget.
Could I have a McGagan spicy bag? Is it? No?
Oh, jeez. Okay, Trish, we need the correct name here.
Okay, go again.
Hi, excuse me, could I have 2 McGagan spice bags?
McGagan the balls! You need the balls!
McGagan Balls, open now until 7 p.m.
Yeah, so that's how bad phone line ended up with us in Ballyfermot, and fights breaking out over the first 25 people to get
Free
a
spice
spice
bag.
bag. Yeah, so that's it really.
I'll move on then. Nathan, how do you feel your presenting style has changed?
Well, I'd say just at the beginning, everything was so staged and rehearsed, and you had to do a lot of fake laughing, like... Yeah, but now we really withhold information because we want that authentic reaction. And a good example of this was a couple of months ago. I was in Tesco and I was doing a food shop, and I picked up all my bits and bobs, and I was at the self-service checkout, and I remember scanning all the items, and then I remembered that my fiancée Becca, she had a club card, and she'd sent a picture of her club card over WhatsApp. So I went into my WhatsApp media and I found it, and I started swiping, but I was having difficulties, and there was this young guy working there, and he noticed that I was struggling, so he came over to me and he picked up my phone. Now, he thought I was in the Tesco app, so he swiped right and then came across a picture that I definitely did not want him to see. And he went, oh my God. And I was absolutely mortified. Now, you're going to see that picture very shortly. But I met up with Graham and his wife the following day, Sunday afternoon. We went for a carvery, and I really wanted to tell Graham. But Graham was like, no, I'll hear it on the show on Monday. So even Graham left the table so I could show his wife, Claire. And she was like, oh God, that was horrible. So we really think gold comes from the authentic reaction on the show, because you can only hear something or see something once, and then you're just faking it. And I think listeners are very clever, and they can tell. So, ladies and gentlemen, you are in for a treat. This is what the picture the man in Tesco saw. This is why you're here today. You should be paying a lot of money to see that. I think somebody just threw up in the corner there. But yeah, so authenticity and...
Do you want to give context as to why that was on your phone?
No, not at all. It's 2025.
Okay.
I think everyone should have a picture
I might
like
go
that.
back one so you don't have to keep looking at that.
No, keep it up there.
Graham, do you want to tell us how you cater for your online audience as well as on air?
Yes, so I know we have our current PD, Phil Manzer, sitting over there, and we have a former PD, Michael Brett, sitting in the middle there as well, and I'm sure I have wrecked your head over the last 10 years about video. I was looking at what Australia were doing, I was consuming their content, and without even listening to their radio shows, I knew what was going on because of video. Now, I think right now, Irish radio is in a great spot, especially in FM104. I think our studios are absolutely fantastic. So we're pumping out as many studio videos as we can to those people who just don't listen to radio. And that's fine, there's a lot of them, but can we catch them on their phones? But another kind of challenge that we have for ourselves is, but can we create content that isn't in studio, that is for an online audience as well? So an idea we had last summer during the Olympics was to do the Radio Olympic Games. Now, every time the Olympics comes around, people do the Office Olympics, and some company will come, KPMG, and throw a paper into a bin and we'll pay you money, whatever. But we didn't want to do that. We wanted to make this as big as we could and challenge ourselves, and challenge we did, because this was a logistical nightmare. So what we wanted to do was have as many, well, we got 2 others, but we wanted as many other...
Oh, it was ambitious.
Logistical nightmare. As many other radio shows from different countries to join us in the Radio Olympic Games for 1 week, do 4 separate games. We'd have a leaderboard, and it would be extremely visual. But then the challenge that was, how do we bring the visual element onto radio? Because, of course, radio is number 1. So we had 2 different streams. It was the video stream, and then we sat down with our voiceover actor, you'll hear him at the end here, to do a separate one for our on-air piece as well, because you can't just be lazy and put the video on air. So I think we're going to see now one of our games. So the 2 people we had was, we had Jimmy and Nate from Australia, and we had Nikki from KISS in Toronto. And I think this game is Don't Stop Till It Pops.
It's day 3 of the Radio Olympic Games, and our next event is Penne Alti Pasta. The person who flicks the most pieces of penne pasta into the glass wins. Let's meet today's players.
Representing Australia, Nath Roy from the Jimmy and Nath Show.
Representing Ireland, Graham O'Toole.
Hey, it's Nikki, and I've come here to win for Canada.
It's on. Oh, rematch. Oh!
Damn it. Yes.
Look at that counts.
It's impossible!
Oh, counts.
No! 5. Oh, 1.
Last one. Oh.
Wow, incredible scenes. National treasure, Graham O'Toole. Ireland is in the lead now with 21 points. Australia trailing behind now at 20. Canada still flopping away with 7 points. Tune in tomorrow for the final of the Radio Olympic Games.
And I think...
Speak about how we were hoping with Jimmy and Nate.
So I think we all like to know how things actually work in this room. And I know engagement now online is a new currency in radio. And one of the main reasons that we chose Jimmy and Nate from Australia is because they've got an Instagram page of over 600,000 people. And their engagement is absolutely incredible. So we thought, right, let's get Jimmy and Nate on.
Let's piggyback.
Yeah, absolutely. The producers were like, yeah, we'll collaborate, no problem at all. We were like, ding dong, here we go.
Gonna be a star.
And we were launching this on the Tuesday after the August bank holiday. But what we weren't prepared for was on the Monday of the bank holiday in Australia, they actually got a major move from evenings on whatever radio station they're on to breakfast show on Today FM in Sydney. So they completely forgot about us, didn't accept any collaborations, and we didn't get that sweet, sweet engagement from
we
Jimmy
just
and
got Canada, and that's...
Nah, who cares about Canada?
Hey, that's about it then, is it? Do we have any questions for Graham and Nathan? Maybe ask Nathan why he had that picture on his phone,
please,
maybe?
guys, please, leave me alone.
That's it then. I think now you're on a break, so we won't keep you
so
any
much,
longer.
guys.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.